Hey, this is Carla from the Butcher Babies.
This is George Corcoran Fisher from Cannibal Corpse.
Hey, this is Rex from Kill Devil Hill. It's Wednesday 13. This is Dad from Devil Driving.
This is Motorist from War. You're listening to Rabid Noise
on Rabid Radio.
Turn it up.
Welcome back to Rabid Noise. That was Roots to Sever from Bellacor's upcoming fourth album, Vessels, which comes out on July 1st. And joining us on the program now from the band is Steve Merry. What's going on, man?
Just chilling out. Thanks for the interview.
A pleasure to have you on the show because you guys kick ass and I'm a fan of what you do.
Oh, thank you. Cheers for that.
No worries, man. You know, your soon-to-be-released Vessels album is your first since 2012's of Breath and Bone, and, man, it's definitely worth the wait. What's been going on with the band between the albums?
Basically, I think in that 4-year period, we had 2 trips to Europe just for the sort of the short tours we do where we go and play a few festivals. So I think we were there 2012 and 2015. And apart from that, we were basically writing the album. And then we spent about a year recording the album, which was a lot longer than normal for us. So it was, the 4-year gap was probably longer than we would have liked, but it's just how it turned out.
Well, man, it's definitely turned out great from the result for the album. I mean, you spent a year recording. Was that at home or in a studio, or what was the process?
No, I was in a studio. Yeah, definitely a studio. But I guess we'd set aside, you know, a month or two to record the album like we normally do. But life got a bit busy for us, and it turned out we ended up having to kind of go in on weekends, you know, and get it done over a slightly longer period of time as well. And then mixing took longer than normal because it was a far more, you know, complicated sort of album to mix than others we've done. So it was just a mixture of factors really that made it. And I suppose once we realised it was going to take a while, we decided to work with that and take the time to work on it and get things how we wanted. So yeah, it was quite a long process.
The album is quite complex, man. There's a lot going on. So I could imagine, you know, you guys wanted to take your time, make sure it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it was. We were surprised by been a lot of changes as well for us. Like, I think, you know, now we're all a bit busier. The way we wrote the album was a bit different. So we spent more time in the studio playing around with, you know, what sort of sounds will we choose for this riff and that riff and how we present it than we've ever done before. And yeah, if you throw in the fact that there was just some other stuff that we were trying that we hadn't done before, it just meant that we were probably surprised by how long it took. But I think in the end it was you know, worth it. I
really love the track Whelm, I think it's called.
Yep, track 5, Whelm. Yeah, we've heard a couple of people that we know just sort of say that track's a bit different to some of the others that they might have heard from us before.
Yeah, just towards the end. There's this part. It's like total chaos, man. There's so much going on. It's unreal.
Yeah, I think you're probably talking about the part where there's like some wailing sounds. George kind of got a bit carried away in the outro of that song. It's really made it kind of a really dark sort of passage.
Yeah, that's the bit I was talking about. Yeah, and you know, that piano riff with it as well.
Yeah. No, it's I think a darker sort of atmosphere, almost like not a horror movie, but it certainly has that feeling of it being quite dramatic. Yeah, so we had fun with that one.
To map that out in your studio, was that something that you guys just played around with, or you actually set out to go, okay, we're going to do this part and make it like creepy as hell, but really complex? And
with this album, we definitely did more of the, you know, where you're in the studio and you've got the basic part there, and then you decide to spend a few hours trying things. So that ending was definitely not one that we kind of gone into the recording planning for it to be that way, but it was one of those ones where we were able to spend some time having fun playing around with how can we make this a bit different, or how can we kind of add something else to this. And we did that in a few spots on the album, which was a good thing, I think. It was one of the ways in which the album is different from our other stuff.
And what about live? Like, how would you go about translating that live, or is that given too much away?
We've always, I mean, all of our albums have more on them than what we can actually play live. Like, we always have 2 or 3 layers of guitar harmonies, things that we can't always do live, and we always want to make the album a priority. So we're not really going to drop things just because it might be hard to play live. So if we play Whelm live, which we may not initially, it'll just be a case of deciding how we can adapt the song for live, which is kind of fun as well. Like, when you go to play a song live, trying to decide which parts end up making it and which parts you perform and how you present them.
That's awesome, man. It must be so much fun for you guys. It's sort of like deconstructing this puzzle you've created and then putting it.
It's hard. It's a problem for us because we sometimes just don't think about the live side of it. We just write the music and then we're like, okay, now I've got a problem. What are we going to do? How are we going to play this? So it does make us think. I think when we're preparing for a tour, and right now we're doing that. We're preparing to try to get some of these songs presented how we want them live, which is it's fun.
That's awesome, man. And of course, Vessels is your first release through Napalm Records, which is huge. I mean, how'd that come about for you guys?
With Napalm, I think it was about a year or so where, we had an email or two from them and just kind of very drawn out gradual discussions. And then when we were in Europe, we got a chance to meet one of the guys from the label and have a conversation with him. And that was when we, I suppose, started to really look at doing it. And it's been good because they're quite supportive. They're a big label, but they're not one of the big, huge labels. So they're, I guess they're an indie label that will allow us to do pretty much what we want, which is, I think, a good thing.
Oh, definitely, man. And, they're one of the labels that do really get behind their bands as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, we've had that feeling. It's only been, I guess, 6 months or so that we've been working with them, but we've had that feeling that they are very much like that, and they've teed us up with some good things. Like, I think they've arranged for the album to be distributed through a label in Japan, which is a first for us. So we've done some interviews with Japanese, magazines and stuff, and it's just been a good chance to do some things that we wouldn't have done, I guess, without having a label to help us.
That must be unreal, man. Have you guys haven't been to Japan yet?
No, we've never been to Asia. We've never played in Asia before. So that, we hadn't thought about it until recently, but it's something we've talked about, that maybe one day we might get the chance to play in Japan, which would be pretty cool.
That would be unreal. That's like one of my dreams, is to play in Japan.
Yeah.
They're crazy for the metal over there.
Yeah, I've seen video or, even just photos of what they're like live. I think the Japanese fans do seem to go pretty crazy, so it would be a very interesting experience.
Totally, man. And I guess that's on the cards. It's something you guys are working towards?
I'd say it's something we've got, in the back of our minds. We are kind of busy as people, with our jobs and stuff as well. So when we do tour, we plan it out a long time in advance, and then we'd like to do more, but I guess we can't tour as much as we'd like. But we also like having a balance where we have other things in our lives as well that we can do, and then the band is something we can do for fun. But yeah, we'd love to get there one day. That'd be great. And
of course, you've had amazing success, not just here, but overseas in Europe, where you've toured Europe and played some massive festivals, man, as you mentioned before. What's been the highlight for you guys over there?
I'd say definitely Germany. We've been to this festival in Germany, Summer Breeze Festival, 3 times, and the first time we were really, obviously, very nervous. We're always nervous, but the first time we were very, very inexperienced. We'd never really played outside of Australia. We'd never played a festival stage, and we were playing at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday or something. There was very few people to see us at the start, but by the end of our set, there were a decent number, and that was a big eye-opener for us. And then when we got back there in 2012 and then again in 2015, we were a little bit more prepared and we knew what to expect. So I think last year in Germany, we were very, we were able to enjoy it more because we kind of knew what to expect, and we felt almost at home because we'd been there 3 times. So, and the German people really do love metal, and they seem to enjoy, when we come, they enjoy our show and stuff. So Germany sort of has a really good feeling for us now. And
what about the other bands on the bill? Each time you've obviously got your own personal heroes that you've played the festivals with. I mean, have you who have you bumped in sort of backstage that sort of had that impact on you?
Probably for me, personally, the biggest one was when we played in the Czech Republic last year. I got to kind of hang out a little bit. I didn't even talk to them that much, but just sort of playing with Agalok, one of my favorite bands who recently obviously split up. But things like that were just very surreal, I guess, when you realise that you're playing a show with bands like Agalok, At the Gates, Dark Tranquility, those sort of people, watching Enslaved play live just from the side of the stage last year in Europe as well. Just stuff like that is very surreal because we didn't ever really plan or expect for this stuff to be happening. So it's been pretty cool, yeah.
Mentioning Enslaved, they're coming back as well.
They are. They're playing, I think it's October in Australia.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Apart from that time in Europe, I haven't had the chance to see them live. So yeah, that would be cool, I think, and I think Australian people are pretty keen to see them.
Talking about before you play with At the Gates and of course Apocalyptica. Are there any bands, say, on your dream list who you'd love to tour with?
Probably for us, like if we were going to pick any band, we would probably, I think, pick Opeth, especially if Opeth was playing, the albums that everyone, I guess, their earlier albums that we started out loving when we were starting as a band. I think we have some elements of their music in our stuff, but we really could probably worship them more than some other bands. So Opeth would be amazing.
I could imagine that. I could imagine you guys playing with them. Yeah,
it'd be really cool. I mean, they have changed. Their style is quite different these days, I guess, to what it used to be. But they're definitely one of those bands where when we were kind of just beginning, we would watch a lot of their live DVDs and listen to their albums and kind of really admire what they do.
Well, man, never say never.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, man, you're going to be hitting the road in July in support of Vessels, and of course, you've toured here around the country before. What's the best advice you can give to, say, a young band starting out trying to plan their first tour?
I think a lot of bands could give us advice because we actually tour pretty infrequently. So every time we tour, it feels like we're reinventing the wheel again, and it's like re-remembering how to do it because it's actually been a year or two since we last did a proper tour around Australia. So, but I suppose general advice is just make sure that if you're not super confident, try to work with some people who can help you plan it all out. Our experience has been that it's really hard to do a tour, let's say, where you do 15 cities, like the smaller towns and so on. This time we're sticking to 6 of the bigger ones, and obviously we feel pretty bad because a few people have sort of said, why aren't you coming to Hobart and stuff? But it can be hard. Like Australia's a massive country, and you have to not be too ambitious, I guess, initially, and just try to pick a few key cities or try to get out there and make it bigger each time.
Awesome, man. And you're going to be in Brisbane on July 16, the Crowbar, which is going to be pretty kick-ass, man.
Yeah, it's been it would have been over a year since we were in Brisbane, so we can't wait for that show. And we're actually announcing all the support bands. What we've got, I'm just opening it up now to have a look at the list. So Brisbane, we are playing with Chronolith, Kaiser Soze.
Kaiser Soze, yep.
Yep, and Valhalla. So
nice.
That should be good. There's a nice mix there, I think, in that lineup. So it should be a really good show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all great bands. Brisbane's finest. So that's going to kick ass, man.
Yep, but we're expecting, I think it'll be a pretty cool show because we've had to listen to, those bands, and I think it'll be really great. Yeah,
hell yeah, man. We're going to go to the track in Embers Arc now. Thanks for hanging on the show tonight, man, and we'll see you in Brisbane on July 16 at the Crowbar. And, of course, all the best to you and the boys for the release of Vessels and the full tour.
Thank you very much. No, we really appreciate the interview, and it'd be great to get up to Brisbane soon.